Hi and welcome back to the 12th Man. We're back with a tactical analysis as Mourinho returned to Old Trafford with his new Tottenham side. Mourinho's return was ultimately fruitless, with his team leaving Old Trafford after a 2-1 loss. With this being one of United's strongest performances of the season so far, let's jump into how they were able to win the match. But first, I'd like to welcome any new viewers to the channel. Here on the 12th Man, I discuss all things football, from the big news to in-depth tactical breakdowns. If you enjoy this type of content and are bored of hearing surface-level punditry on TV, join our community by subscribing now. Manchester United set up in a 4-2-3-1 shape, with McTominay returning to the team after an injury and Greenwood leading the line. In possession from deep, United would transition to a back three, with Maguire and Lindelof splitting wide and one of the two fullbacks pushing further up the pitch. Fred and McTominay would act as double pivots in the midfield, usually staggered with one pushed slightly higher than the other. These two would aim to position themselves between the Tottenham lines and provide straight passing options to bypass the Spurs attackers. Spurs looked to counter United's shape with a mid-block. They allowed either Maguire or Lindelof to progress up the pitch while holding a 4-2-4 formation. Once either centre-half had carried the ball near to the Tottenham attackers, one of them would break formation to initiate a press. This movement would transition them into a 4-2-3-1 shape, with either Kane or Ali providing this focal point. Tottenham also lined up in a 4-2-3-1 shape, with Vertonghen used as the left fullback and Lucas Moura returning to the team as a right-sided forward. Like United, Tottenham opted to initiate their build-up play using a back three. With his strong attacking qualities and somewhat weak defensive capabilities, Serge Aurier was usually the man to push higher up the pitch, while opposite fullback Vertonghen would sit deeper. Winks and Sissoko were positioned as double pivots, providing the option of straight passes to break the United lines and feed the Tottenham forwards. However, the pair weren't used often, with Tottenham favouring longer, more direct passes. United also countered this with a 4-2-4 formation and a mid-block. It would transition into a 4-2-3-1 when either Lingard or Greenwood would initiate the press. United pressed tactically, sometimes dropping off to a low block, and other times choosing to press Tottenham high up the pitch in an attempt to win the ball back in a strong position. In the opening stages of the match, United were more positive than Tottenham with their pressing. Mourinho has long favoured a direct style of play in his teams. His decision to use Alderweireld's passing abilities in order to progress the ball up the pitch is a tactic I'm sure we will see many more times over the course of the season. However, as a result of United's positive pressing in the early stages, long accurate passes were often replaced with hopeful lumps up the field. With 47% of attacks coming from the left-hand side, Rashford was United's main man up front. He was a consistent goal threat throughout the match, with Spurs often allowing him too much space to collect the ball and shoot. Rashford's intelligent positioning made life tough for Tottenham. During the early stages of attack, he would remain wide and provide width. When collecting the ball in this position, he was able to cut inside and run at Serge Aurier, who simply couldn't handle Rashford's pace and trickery. During the later stages of an attack, if Tottenham had dropped deep, Rashford would take a more central role while still remaining out to the left. This allowed him to regularly exploit the space between either Serge Aurier and Lucas Moura or Serge Aurier and Davinson Sanchez. Without a Tottenham player man-marking the 22-year-old or a more active press, Rashford was able to find pockets of space throughout the match and test the keeper through powerful direct shots. There has been much made about Rashford's inability to play well with his back to goal as a number 9, Both Mourinho and Solskjaer have highlighted this point. Interestingly, during this match, Rashford collected the ball with his back to goal consistently. The key is that Rashford's wide position afforded him space to turn and run at the opposing players before he had been pressured. Playing more centrally, this time to turn and face defenders is far more limited. It is perhaps this, over any other element, which explains why Rashford has enjoyed his move back to the left-hand side of attack so much. Fred was another key player for United. Having underperformed consistently since joining the Red Devils, the Brazilian has been under pressure. In this match, however, he excelled. Playing with McTominay in the centre of midfield, Fred was constantly on the move trying to find space. With his energetic movement, Fred was able to offer regular direct passing options to Maguire and Lindelof. Once on the ball, his aim was to find the forwards as quickly as possible, which he did with excellent long balls. Overall, this was perhaps Fred's best performance in red, with Tottenham underestimating him and hence allowing him far too much time on the ball. For Tottenham, the key man going into the match was always likely to be Dele Alli. Since Mourinho's arrival, Alli has been given license to roam higher up the pitch, with more emphasis on his attacking capabilities and less so on his defensive work. Here we can see Alli marking McTominay closely as Lingard has the ball on the wing. Seconds later, the ball has been shifted inside to Maguire, and we can see that Alli has drifted away from McTominay as he moves towards Maguire. His positioning would make a pass between Maguire and McTominay difficult, but not impossible, so we can see his purpose isn't to cut off the passing lanes. Instead, it is to place himself in an area which could be dangerous to United's defence if a turnover in possession occurs. Ali's free role allowed him more creative flair than we have seen over the past 12 months, but it also facilitated United to gain more possession and space in the centre of the park. Here, Mourinho rolled the dice. He was happy to give up some defensive solidity in order to allow Alli to provide an attacking threat. With Fred having such a strong game in the centre of the park though, this turned out to be a poor decision. This type of decision is also rare for Mourinho, who generally prefers structure and solidity above all else. Ultimately, the match was won by United in the centre of the park. Tottenham looked a disjointed team at times, unsure whether to press or to hold back. Pressing is an extremely effective tactic in football when done well. Just look at Liverpool. However, it requires the whole team to work together as a unit. With the Tottenham players regularly breaking off from their positions to press as individuals, or simply not getting close enough to the United players, it was too easy to work the ball up the field to the United forwards. Once the ball had been moved forward, the Spurs defenders simply couldn't handle the United attacking threat, with Rashford terrorising Serge Aurier and Dan James's pace leaving Vertonghen behind. Throughout the match, Mourinho's early influence was seen. While Pochettino preferred a high-tempo passing style of football, Mourinho's Tottenham regularly hit long passes in their attempts to get the ball forwards. Rarely did Gazzaniga hit a short pass from goal kick, nor were Winks or Sissoko tasked with connecting the ball to the front men too often. Instead, Alderweireld and Vertonghen played long passes to move the ball further up the pitch. Tottenham's attacks were spread equally between the two wings, with lesser down the middle. During the late stages of attack, Son Heung-min and Dele Alli would find themselves nearby to each other on the left, while Moura and Aurier provided a similar option on the right. By positioning themselves closely, the aim was to create an overload in attack on each side. However, this was countered by quick pressing from United immediately after a long ball was received and using the touchline effectively as an extra defender. All too often, Tottenham found themselves unable to pass their way through the United press or play over it. For Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, having listened to Mourinho criticise his team from the pundit's chair over the past few months, this was a moment of redemption. For Mourinho, an opportunity lost.